Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome back to Wizards Pregame. We got Cardell Dudley Jr. here. I'm Wilson Tarpey Jr. The Washington Wizards before the holiday, they got off an ugly slide, got into the winning side of things. They're coming off a 132-113 win over the Pacers. Tonight they're on 132-113 win over the Hawks. Tonight they're on the road to face the Indiana Pacers. And those are adding to their win column. It'd be really great to see them put a couple games together. Cardell, Indiana on the other side of things, they fell to the Raptors at the buzzer on Wednesday night with Brandon Ingram hitting a 15-footer with 0.6 seconds to go. They're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, placing their record at 2-16. As of now, the injury front, the Wizards are going to be without Trey Johnson, Corey Kispert. The Pacers without Johnny Furphy, Quentin Jackson, Aaron Nesmith, and Cam Jones. In terms of game-time decisions on that front, Washington's Keyshawn George and Indiana's Andrew Nembhard. But Cardell, as always, we get to the keys of the game. What does Washington have to do in order to leave Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight, potentially with a win?
Come out aggressive like they did against the Hawks, set the tone early again. Outside of us, being critical of their defense most of the season, we've also been saying that they kind of wait for teams to hit them before they try to fight back in a sense. And by that time, it's already over, and then it's just an uphill battle. Hit them first. C.J. McCollum led the way with that. And then, Kispert was obviously there with him. Then Alex Sarr and Cole joined them. And they never let up. That's one thing. Also, defensively, it's no excuse not to play defense tonight with the injuries, not only that the Pacers have, but even when they had those guys, they're pretty bad offensively, the Pacers are. I don't think people understand how bad they are coming into this game. They're 30th in the NBA in field goal percentage, 41.6. They're 30th in three-point percentage, 31.3. They're 23rd in free throw percentage, 28.4. 77.1% from the line, and they're 30th in assists. They only just a little over 23 a game. They don't turn the ball over. They're 11th in the league. They only average just under 15 a game. And even though they're the bottom half of the league as far as free throw percentage, they get there a lot. They're fourth in the NBA getting there at 28.4. So you got to be able to guard without fouling, or that could be the way for them to stay in the game. Just laid it out for you. They don't shoot well and they don't move the ball well, but they don't give it to you either. So if your defense is just solid, and if you clicking on offense, you should be able to get the job done tonight. I'm talking about on the Wizards' behalf. Also, just to kind of further prove what I'm talking about, the defensive rating for the Pacers, 118.3, they're 22nd, and they're 25th in the NBA. They allow 121.4 points a game. So they have their struggles defensively, and they're by far the worst offensive team in the league. I know they're home, but you're fairly healthy. You're missing Kispert, Trey Johnson, but this is why the Wizards haven't been a roster with young players that they have. They have depth to kind of make up for that if they come out and do what they're supposed to do. This is a chance to have your first winning streak of the season. You can't lose tonight. You can't lose tonight. Y'all need a lot of wins to get back in the mix, but you can't lose tonight for the simple fact of all the injuries, man. It's just kind of laid out there for you to make it 2 in a row. You lose tonight, then that kind of erases what happened with the Hawks. You know what I mean, so to speak, man. So, obviously you got to play the game. I'm not going to disrespect the Pacers. Like they don't have pieces that can go off and make things difficult for the Wizards. Obviously led by Pascal Siakam. You know how I feel about Benedict Mathurin. He's a dog. He's super competitive. But after that, T.J. McConnell's a pit bull. You know what I mean? He's one of the few players that's shooting well from the field for him. He's shooting 50% from the field. He's struggling from deep. You know what I mean? He doesn't get to the free throw line that much, but when he does, he makes them. But outside of that, you got a bunch of young, hungry players that's trying to prove themselves, which can also be dangerous because they have nothing to lose. So I don't see why the Wizards would come in here, on something too cool. Yeah, we got this type of stuff. Not with two wins. I don't see why they would do that. But in this day and age with players and everything, you just don't know. So I hope they come in here with, man, let's just get them up out of there early. Move on to the next one. Hope they come in there with that mentality. But that remains to be seen, man. But for sure, if they keep Shock on Mathurin under control, they're aggressive offensively, efficient offensively like they were. I'm not expecting CJ to obviously go off of 50. If he does, hey, so be it. But I'm not expecting that. But if they're efficient offensively, they keep Mathurin and Shock them in check. And then they just, as a team, just be solid defensively. Don't turn the ball over too much and give them the pace of too many chances. Be solid defensively without sending them to the free throw line. The Wizards should be able to pull out this one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? There's only been a handful of times this season where, we've talked about where things look like they kind of lined up for Washington heading into games. This would be another one of those nights where, like you said, especially with the injury, the injuries, the Pacers are missing their franchise because we saw Tyrese get hurt in the finals last year, and we're also seeing that weird conversation from last year. Is why some discussions are just historically stupid. Yeah, look at his absence. Look what they went to. Finals to the bottoms of
first pick.
Like that's the conversation, and not because they're tanking or this just that's what they're on.
Mm-hmm.
He meant that much to them.
Yes.
But like you said, things are lined up in their favor tonight. It's up to them to capitalize on it, and that's whether I know I mentioned Keyshawn and Andrew Nemord, whether with the game time decisions or not. That's on them. You handle your business. It's lined up for you to come into Monday's game at home with, like you said, your first win streak of the season. And yeah, I'm right with you. If Pacers do take care of business tonight, it totally negates whatever happened a few days ago. Just throw it out. It's literally, this is a matchup between 2-15 and a 2-16 team.
Right, absolutely. And one other thing, they are a good rebounding team. I mean, when healthy, they're 13th in the NBA, 45.1, but offensively they're 9th. They're just under 13 a game. You got to keep them off the offensive boards because they lead the second chance points. And like I said, they can muddy up this game and make it a grimy game, and that's how they can pull it out, even with all the injuries. The Wizards got to match that. That's what I mean by they got to come in here a little hungry because, again, fine, you're not going against primetime big-name players, but you're going against some hungry players that's trying to stick and prove themselves and be able to secure a job in the league moving forward. You got to get that because the Wizards have gotten beat plenty of times this season against those type of teams. Stars might be out or whatnot, and then they calling up the G League guys, and then with them the two ways they exhibit 10 guys, and they coming in, they playing with the role players and backup, and they beating the Wizards. So, look, again, in a perfect world, I would not expect the Wizards to come in on some, we got it already in the bag type stuff. They have no reason to feel that way for a while. You got a lot of work to do, but you never know in this day and age with players, man. So hopefully that's the mentality. I know like guys like CJ McCollum and the vets, Chris Middleton, they not on that type of time. They're gonna come in and do what they do. You said Keyshawn's out, he's back. Did you say he's in?
Keyshawn is game time.
Game time. Well, if he plays, I know he ain't on that type of time. Saw him been balling this entire year. I know with certain players we know going to be ready to go, man. But it's not just, it can't be just 2 or 3 players at a time on the court. You got to be the whole team, man. And, try to put together, their first 2-game winning streak of the season, man. Like I said, just keep building. Just keep building. Because, man, what the hell is the standings, man? Like, it ain't much. It ain't much. Nice little streak, like that. Play in the 10th, 9 wins. So, you know what I'm saying? Like
that's crazy. That's, you want to know what? I don't think I've even taken like the broader look of the standing just because of where we've been at and what we've been looking at and talking about on the nightly. So that's actually crazy.
And they've been talking about the big bad Western Conference and stuff. The East is actually better at this point. Like again, like I said, the last spot for their playing, Philly 9-8, 10th seed. The 10th seed for the Western Conference, Memphis 7-12. Like the records of the Eastern Conference is at this point is it's man, that tax apron life is crazy.
You know what's crazy? The fact that the East has better records, with in mind that they have all three teams with the worst records, or 3 to 4 teams with the worst records in basketball, all possessing all three of those teams in their conference is crazy. My only one thing I wanted to add before we get out of here, you talked about those guys being hungry, have teams having those guys and folks taking advantage of it. My cautionary tale would be Dennis Jenkins on the Pistons. We saw what people do with opportunities. That was the first name that popped up when you were talking about that. Was they were in a great situation in that game. That kid came in. He's part of the rotation now. And you know, like I'm sure when you start his resume of how he got in rotation, that game's in there. I don't know where it's in there, but it's in there.
For sure. And that game in a sense, because a lot of starters were out that game. I think Tobias was out, Isaiah Stewart, like key role players. A lot of guys were out that game. And them young boys came in and they got it done. You know, they got it done. Duran, obviously, Cade he had big numbers, but he was highly inefficient and stuff. The game was there to be taken. And mishaps get into overtime and then they lose the game, man. So, like I said, man, if it can happen then, it can happen now. So, like Detroit's still trying to figure it out. You got guys over here that don't want chips and in the championship last year, you know, with a hell of a coach. So, the Wizards obviously ain't in a position to sleep on nobody or take any chances, man. So, bring the same energy and intensity that they brought last game, bring it into this game. If they do that on both ends of the floor without making too many mistakes, they should be able to pull it out.
We will see. Keep in mind what Cardell shared in terms of keys of the game as you guys are tuned in this evening. We'll check in with y'all after the game. The game starts 7:30. Cambridge Fieldhouse in Indiana.